You know, we live in a time where there are so many examples of people following leaders who are not acting with integrity. And it raises the question, why do people follow leaders, especially if they have some knowledge that this leader is corrupt? So I want to take on this question and try to shed some light on it because I think understanding how people get manipulated into following a leader is actually quite important to know. How we can protect ourselves from being manipulated into following someone who's not acting with integrity. So let's dive into this topic right now. Alright, so why do people follow leaders, especially when they know they're corrupt? Well, one of the oldest tools of control is fear. Fear is an emotion that everyone experiences. It doesn't matter whether you're a highly skilled professional or a person who struggles with their self-esteem. We all fear something, whether it's public speaking, spiders, heights, whatever it may be. But fear is a very primal emotion that, if exploited by a leader, can easily be used to manipulate followers into doing what the leader wants them to do. Here's how it works. You make your followers afraid of something, and then you tell them that the only way they can avoid that negative outcome is by following your instructions. This is a powerful persuasion tool. And let me just give you one example. Humans are wired to seek protection from authority. Our brain has evolved to view authority as a source of protection. In fact, there are studies that show that our brain responds to authority figures like police officers or CEOs in the same way it responds to actual physical threats, like a bear attacking you. So, if you're a leader who knows how to project an image of strength and protection, people will naturally gravitate towards you because deep down, they're looking for protection. Think about it. Why did early humans come together and form tribes? Because they knew there was safety in numbers. Being part of a tribe meant having more eyes watching out for dangerous animals or other threats. It also meant having more hands to defend them if a threat did emerge. So the need for protection is deeply ingrained in us. And when a leader comes along who promises to provide that protection, people will naturally want to follow them. Now, charisma often blinds people to the morality of a leader. Charismatic leaders are magnetic, charming, and great storytellers. They have the ability to inspire and motivate people in a way that other leaders can't. They know how to communicate with people on an emotional level and make them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. Now, this can be a powerful force for good, but it can also be used to manipulate people. When a charismatic leader comes along, promising to take his followers to the promised land, people will often overlook any red flags and just jump on board because they're so excited by the leader's vision. They see the leader as larger than life, as almost a superhero who's going to save them from their problems. They don't want to miss out on what the leader is offering, so they're willing to overlook any doubts they might have. Now, I'm not saying that all charismatic leaders are bad or manipulative. Many of them are genuinely good people who want to make the world a better place. But it's important to remember that charisma can be a powerful persuasion tool that some leaders use to manipulate people. Many people would rather be rewarded than do what's right. We live in a society that often rewards unethical behavior. Many companies are willing to cut corners and break the law to get ahead. In fact, it is estimated that around 30% of all business leaders have engaged in some form of illegal activity. Now, I know this might sound shocking, but it's true. These leaders aren't punished for their actions, but instead are often rewarded with higher profits and more power. When this happens, it sends a clear message to other people that if they want to succeed, they need to be willing to bend the rules. This is why many people are willing to follow a corrupt leader. They see that the leader is getting away with unethical behavior, and they don't want to be left behind. They're willing to overlook the leader's corruption because they want the reward. Groups create a herd mentality. This means that people tend to follow the majority opinion, even if it's wrong. This is because when we're in a group setting, we're often trying to conform to the group norm. We don't want to stick out or be different. So we go along with whatever the majority is doing. Now, this can be a good thing when the majority opinion is right, but it can be dangerous when the majority is wrong. So, for example, let us say you are in a group of friends and one of your friends starts telling a joke that is offensive to a certain group of people. Now, at first, no one says anything. They just laugh at the joke. But then one person speaks up and says, "Hey, this is really offensive." At that point, things get awkward, and the person telling the joke might feel embarrassed. But the person who spoke up probably felt good about themselves because they stood up for what they believed in. Now, here's the thing. If the person telling the joke had been a charismatic leader, the situation could have played out very differently. Let's say the leader told the offensive joke and no one said anything. The person who wanted to speak up might have still done it anyway. But after that, the leader might have turned to them and said, "Hey, you don't seem to be enjoying the party. Care to explain?" Or they might have made a joke about them being a killjoy. The other group members would have laughed at that, and the person who wanted to speak up would have felt isolated and eventually left the party. So in this scenario, the charismatic leader was able to manipulate the group into accepting his offensive behavior. The person who tried to speak up was isolated and eventually left the group. When people are uncertain about something, they often look to decisive leaders for guidance. This is because in times of uncertainty, people are often scared. They don't like not knowing what's going to happen next. So they want someone who can provide direction and make decisions quickly. Unfortunately, some leaders exploit this fear of uncertainty to gain power. They make decisions that benefit them and their followers, but that may not be in the best interest of the organization they're leading. For example, a CEO who's worried about losing their job may make decisions that benefit shareholders in the short term, but that damage the company in the long run. So in this scenario, the CEO is a corrupt leader who's motivated by fear and uncertainty. They're making decisions that benefit them and their followers in the short term, but that are damaging to the company as a whole. Corrupt leaders manipulate hope and fear equally. They use fear to control their followers and keep them in line. They also use hope to win over new followers and get them to buy into their vision. Hope is a powerful motivator. Everyone wants to believe that good things are going to happen. So when a leader comes along and tells them that if they follow him, those good things will definitely happen, people are often willing to follow them, even if they know that the leader is corrupt. The corrupt leader knows how to tap into people's hopes and dreams. They know what people want to believe, and they use that to their advantage. They tell their followers that if they follow them, their lives will be better. They'll have more money, more power, more success. And people are often willing to believe them, even if there's no evidence that any of it is true. All right, so to wrap this up, here's the lesson that I want you to walk away with. People follow certainty more than they follow the truth. And I know this might be a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. People want to believe that there is a clear path to success, that there is a leader who has all the answers. They don't want to be left in the dark, so they're willing to follow someone who projects certainty, even if that person is corrupt. Now, this doesn't mean that there's no hope for humanity. It just means that we need to be aware of this tendency to follow certainty. We need to be aware of the dangers of charisma and charm. We need to be aware of the power of hope and fear. And most importantly, we need to be aware of the bias for certainty. So I encourage you to be critical of those who claim to have all the answers. Be wary of those who project an image of certainty. And always remember that the truth is often hidden behind the smoke and mirrors. So that's my take on why people follow leaders, even when they know those leaders are corrupt. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. So please feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. I appreciate your support, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.